Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play The Messenger. In the last parts, we went through the rest of the sunken shrine and then started our way onto our next music note. Keynote, musical note, I mean technically the same thing. And now we're back in hell. The Underworld is host to not only some more power souls we need to get, but also a music note. And really I'm only doing this now because it's the most convenient time to do this one, because I don't have anything else major to do at the moment. And plus, it's situated between two longer music notes. That's the way I tended to try and go about these, was get a shorter one, then a longer one, then a shorter one, then a longer one, so on and so forth. Plus, this is the only other time I need to come back to the Underworld. If I take care of this now, I can just never have to come back here and cross this place off my completion list. The Underworld's the rare case, though, in that it's one of the two levels in the game where you haven't seen the 8-bit version. I have to say, I love the 8-bit version of this song. I have to wonder, Rainbow Dragon Eyes, the composer for the game, I have to wonder if they composed the music in 8-bit or 16-bit first, depending on the level. And then that's why certain songs don't transition well to one or the other, because it just wasn't meant for that sound font, technically. Mind you, there is obviously some extra layering going on, because there's extra instruments in 16-bit. Now, to get to my actual destination, I have to head along this bottom path with the Lightfoot Tabby. This is also why I'm doing this one now, because I needed this. But I'm not going to go that way for now. I'm going to go after the two power seals, I think it is. Along the way first. And to get there, they're thankfully right next to each other. You don't have to go through much of hell at all to get there. And thank God, because that's like 2/3 of the level I don't have to visit, I think. The only power seal you'd feasibly have to go very far into this place to get is the one that you could have gotten during the linear section. Which is also partially why I'm glad I grabbed that one while we were there. And, in fact, when I was recording the 16-bit version of this area during the linear section, I went down towards where this place was, that these power seals are, because I thought I could get it, but no, I needed it to be now, because you can go behind this platform. The danger is still high enough in the Underworld, because, obviously, instant death, and this was the last linear level we did, so, theoretically speaking, it's the closest to the difficulty curve of the game right now. But it's honestly less dangerous in 8-bit for some reason. Now, they want you, I think, to do some amount of cloud stepping here, but you can just damage boost and use the Lightfoot Tabby to get this no problem. Of course, the implication might be that you weren't supposed to get this before the Lightfoot Tabby, as you only need it to get the music note in this area, but I figured might as well destroy both birds with one stone, right? And with that, my business in the Underworld, barring the music note, is now completed, so once I get past this platform, we can head back towards that point I was talking about earlier. And now for one very long platforming sequence. To compare, this would be about as hard as the Magic Seashell platforming sequence back in Quillstrom Martian Part 4, only when I meant to do it. It's unfortunate to me in a way that that is the only sequence break I think you can do in The Messenger, is that, because a semi-defining characteristic to Metroidvania is that there's usually some form of sequence break you can do, barring very kinetic storyline-based ones like Iconoclasts. And I'm at least glad there is one. I'm surprised there's no dialogue, lampshading the fact you got it earlier than you're supposed to. I am just sad that that's the only one. I usually like a couple of times you can do it. Mind you, that's also because my favorite Metroid game is Zero Mission, a game that's level design is completely built around sequence breaks. Hidden blocks all over the place, weak to certain weapons you're not supposed to have yet, or that you can get early because of it. It's incredible for that. I love the level design of Metroid Zero Mission for that. It's one of the reasons it is my favorite. Barring the fact it's the one I played the most as a kid. But let's be real, nostalgia always plays a bit of a role in what we define a genre as. This final section seems dangerous, especially because I think it uses the lava animation from the rising lava stuff, but it's relatively safe. we got the Key of Chaos. Nature's attempt to contain the Underworld's endless mayhem, it is one of the notes needed to create a melody that will break the curse. Cool. And with that, we never need to go to the Underworld again, thank God, because I got other stuff to do. At this point, let's now start a trek towards one of the longer music notes to get. So what should I do next? Where the dead live, a foe turned friend left a gift, sir. As fate would beautifully have it, blah 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 blah, we have 2 notes left. To get the next note, I want to head back to Autumn Hills, as the easiest way to get to where I want to go is through there. At this point, I need to do a relatively massive jump cut, because my goal here in Autumn Hills isn't even in Autumn Hills. I need to get back to the Ninja Hill, or Ninja Village, rather. Welcome, young adventurer. Greetings, Elder. I got the tea leaves. An impressive feat. It would seem you have mastered time itself. Ah, to taste astral tea once again. You've brought an old man great joy. Thank you and farewell, brave messenger. Yes? You were supposed to use the tea to expand my mind and grant me the power of true sight? Ah, yes, the power of true sight. Apologies. As it ages, the mind tends to err instead. Here's a candle for you. We got the power of true sight, or in other words, an ordinary wax candle. So let me get this straight. You made me just get a tea leaf that wouldn't be available for the rest of your lifetime because you forgot I needed a candle? Okay. With that now, we can now access, technically, the next music note. Also, at the Forlorn Temple, there's a pyro, and the bridge will be repaired in 4,500 years. However, if you go to the future, it's only somewhat built because that's not 4,500 years in the future. For every Phobakin you rescue, that time goes down. I think it goes to 4,500, 2,500, and then 500, I think? Somewhere about that. But no, my true goal for now is in the Catacombs. There are a couple things I need to do here, but for right now, I'm only going to do one thing that leads to the next music note and the power seals. The hints that the prophet just gave me about a friend turned or foe turned friend here, I'm saving that for the last music note, as I feel it's storyline wise the most impactful, so it should be done last, I suppose is the way I want to phrase that. Though it should be stated, you can do whatever I'm doing in whatever order you wish. Power seal hunting, going after keys. There's no actual timeline of which one should be done first or last. The only exceptions to that are you do need to do at least parts of the Sunken Shrine before you go do the Key of Chaos in the Underworld. Technically, you could just get the Tabi and then leave, but why would you do that? Now, something I never really talked too in depth about is the speedrun. I know I mentioned like it involves some out of bounds and such, but let's actually talk about the times for it. There are 5 major categories for the Messenger: 8-bit, linear, any percent, 100%, and the Picnic Panic DLC. A few of those are rather self-explanatory. Picnic Panic is just that campaign. 8 bits, the 8-bit stages. Linear is everything before the Metroidvania-style approach. And any percent and 100% are also relatively self-explanatory. It's beating the game as fast as possible while going through the whole game, and 100% is grabbing everything. But the interesting thing is that each of the categories has multiple subcategories. There is no out-of-bounds and out-of-bounds categories for each, and each of those has 3 subcategories as well. Fresh New Game Plus, and no upgrades. And it's interesting to see just how much the time can vary due to that. Like, New Game 80%, or New Game 8 bits is 26 minutes, whereas 100% no out of bounds is 2.5. I always love seeing just how much a game's time can vary just based off subcategories. And even then, it doesn't vary too much for individual ones. Like, New Game into no upgrades is 31 minutes for 8-bit, out of bounds is 32. The times are close because sometimes the time saves just are very minor. With that said, I will recommend you look up the speedruns for this game because they are a visual marvel in terms of execution. The type of speedrun I'd always like to do the most is tricks and execution based, because if you can figure out the tricks, you can figure out the game, essentially, is the way I like to look at it. Mind you, there are those tricks that are multiple one-frame windows. I'm looking at stage 1 of the Castlevania speedruns, and what Ocarina of Time has become, because good lord, if you had told me even 3 years ago that Ocarina of Time would be almost 10 minutes long speedrun-wise, I wouldn't believe you. It's ridiculous how fast the glitched runs have gotten to that game. And I'm totally here for it. I have a feeling I've talked about that recently as well in a video, but that may have just been me talking with my friends on Discord, because frankly, sometimes the two tend to blend a bit. With that, that's the last power seal here in the Catacombs, I believe. So the only two things we have left to do here are to go and do the thing at the end of the area, and then do the thing I'm here for. With that said, I'm just going to do the thing I'm here for. Technically speaking, the thing that the prophet is hinting towards hints towards the thing I'm doing right now, even. But since I know it's here, I'm going to do it now instead. I guess that's technically a sequence break, but I'm not sure if I would count this as a sequence break, because you can find it before the hint, and you don't need the hint to find it. Welcome to the Dark Cave. If you didn't have the candle, sorry, the power of true sight, this place would be completely dark, and you couldn't exactly see around you. I think the only thing you could see is yourself, and maybe a small window around you, but I don't even believe that. With that said, technically speaking, the power of true sight / candle is optional. You can get through this place just by memorizing the level design and looking at a map. And there's even an achievement / trophy for doing just that. I haven't done it because, frankly speaking, I hate darkness gimmicks. It's probably my least favorite gimmick type in gaming, more so than ice, more so than water, more so than anti-gravity. I do not like darkness gimmicks because I like to go at a good pace. Anti-gravity, water, ice, all those, you can still move at a relatively decent pace with the game's mechanics, no matter what game it is. No matter what, but you're forced to constantly hesitate and pause for whatever the lighting situation is in darkness gimmicks, meaning that I just don't like doing it. It's one of the reasons I don't go back to Ninja Gaiden 3 too much, because I hate that one stage. I think that was stage 4? Or was it stage 5? I want to say it was stage 4. The one where you first get to the fortress either way. And with that, we've reached a new area. Welcome to Rivière something or other. I forget the full name. We'll see when we talk to the shopkeeper in a little bit. This place's main gimmick is water, and a lot of it. With that said, the water isn't normal water. It's some form of poison water that kills you on contact, so treat it as if it was lava. The main gimmick otherwise is that there's a lot of logs bellowing all over the place on the water that we need to use as platforms and catch up to. Think of it as if the logs on the waterfalls in Super Mario Bros. 2 USA were falling, and then not falling and going along the river. And that's also where the last portal is in the Tower of Time HQ. And this is one of my least favorite power seals in the game. Less so for the challenge itself, it's simple enough. But if you die here, the most recent checkpoint was entering the area. And I died a couple times getting to this and doing it, so I spent about 5 or 6 minutes just backtracking from the start of the stage and here multiple times just to get this power seal. It's kind of annoying. I think there might even be a checkpoint closer that's just further in the level. I'm just stubborn about getting it before I progress further in. Because, you know, I'm an idiot. Maybe. Sometimes. Idiot savant. A lot of this stage is various vertical stages, vertical areas with multiple spikes aligned through, and it's very easy to die in here. I'd argue, given the fact that the next music note's earliest portion hints towards this, that you could just completely ignore that you're meant to do this as the last of the main areas. The reason I say arguably is, technically speaking, the final music note I do does feel more final given its contexts. And I ignore the shop forgetting to talk to them. It's kind of something I forgot to do in every playthrough of this game, really. Whenever you reach a new area, in this point in the game, you're so untrained to talk to the shopkeeper anymore, just because they never have new dialogue after you've done all this. Once you reach the Metroidvania stuff, it's more gameplay than story. And that's partially just a circumstance of the formula. Very few Metroidvania-type games have constant story updates just because you're wandering around and the chances of you being where a plot-relevant thing is for dialogue's sake is low. There are some games that still do it, don't get me wrong. I'm looking particularly at the Shantae games, Iconoclasts, again. Generally more modern Metroid-likes, but things like Symphony of the Night or the Metroid games, their plot elements are usually at the start of a planet, in the case of certain games, at the end of a planet, and maybe some battle cutscenes along the way. Like, I'm thinking Metroid Prime series in particular, most of the cutscenes that aren't, like, before, at the end, at the beginning and end of an area are, oh no, a new enemy showed up, and then you kill it. I horrifically mismanaged that jump. With that said, this is one of my favorite contrasts between the two eras in the game, because the past, it's very dead and desolate, and during the present, or future, it's all nice and vibrant and full of life. Music's oddly eerie, though. Let's see, is this the time I remember to go talk to the shopkeeper? I believe it is. So about the current area. Where am I? Oh, I believe you found the sacred grove known as Rivière Turquoise. It looks like a lot's taking place here. You bet. With your perspective as a time traveler, you should be able to see it in both states. This area used to be ruled by demons and completely charred, until one day a powerful messenger drove them out and brought in the butterfly matriarch so that the grove could heal and become lush again. Worked like a charm. Wait, so if I'm seeing the charred grove in my present time, no, and the restored version in the future, don't go there. Doesn't that mean there's been a messenger in between my two time periods? Hooray! Time paradox or plot hole? You decide! Thanks for ruining the show. Can't you just enjoy the contrast? Yeah, Ninja, come on. This is cool shit, man. Alright, at this point, you may notice I have 1,000 time shards, but I'm not buying the most recent upgrade. That's because the two upgrades left in the game are a defense upgrade that makes it so that anything that would do 2 damage only does 1. Spikes that still do, I believe, still do a universal 3. And the Demon's Bane. I'm saving up for the Demon's Bane because it's overall more useful. What the Demon's Bane is it's sort of like a charge slash for your sword attack, but instead of working like a proper charge attack from like Mega Man where you hold the button, essentially whenever you're not attacking, you're constantly charging, and when you glow whites, the next slash you do does 3 damage instead of 1. Which is very useful for environmental tiles, for boss fights. It's just generally the most useful upgrade in the game, which is why it costs the most. Hence why I'm saving up for it, because I'm going to be using it more than the double defense in my eyes. Very few attacks from my memory do 2 damage. Of course, I could just be forgetting, because it's mostly boss fight attacks, and there's not many bosses left in the game, let's be real. It's also in that last room we were introduced to the secondary gimmick of the Rivière Turquoise, wherein there's these flowers that'll bounce you around and others ones that'll shoot you out. You need to correct the ones that'll bounce you around to get you onto the proper pathway for the one that'll shoot you around. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 13, we're going to be investigating the rest of the Rivière Turquoise. See you guys then.